What are some trends that you're seeing that you don't feel like are beneficial? And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be in terms of the class structure, but what are any trends that when you hear a gym owner kind of bring up in a call, you're like, oh crap, like let me see if I can steer them away from this thing because it's probably going to throw them off.
I'd say the biggest thing that I'm seeing is the desire just to chase the buck. There's been, I think, a big push this last, 18 months, 24 months, to just, kind of, people being fed up with, being broke and, running these businesses, not making any money. And, where they were just focused on the members and the community and all that, to kind of the polar opposite now, to where it's like, well, I'm just going to go all in. It's all about the money. I don't care about, whatever it takes to make more money. And it's kind of like the same thing that you see oftentimes just in the overall entrepreneur community, where it's just about like putting big numbers up on the board, whether it's overall member count or dollars and all that. And don't get me wrong, it's all about, running a great gym should be a balance between those two, right? I'm not by any means saying that that's not critical to the formula, but the big shift I'm seeing is people kind of letting go from the quality and community aspect, willing to sacrifice those elements just to make more money. And it's unfortunate because, there are tools and there are services and things out there that will help you pour rocket fuel on, growth, whether that's just in overall acquisition or it's selling, different packages and all that, which in the right application or with the right systems can work beautifully and be complementary. But I think oftentimes they're not looking at the entire business system and looking at like, okay, how can I make sure that this complements my mission and what I'm trying to accomplish, rather than abandoning all that just for the sake of making more money in the short
Mhm.
term. And people are finding themselves then, at first, I think really excited at the bigger numbers coming into their bank account, only to then shortly thereafter, usually 3 to 6 months, realizing that, oh crap, I'm not sure I like what this is doing to my business. And then now having to correct course yet again, and a lot of things that they weren't prepared to do.
Yeah, I mean, let's dive deeper into that. It's like one of the things that jumps into my head is like the 6 week challenge type stuff where you're kind of putting all your time and energy into the person that hasn't quite walked through your doors yet, and potentially at the expense of the person who's already there. I mean, I've talked to various companies that are running stuff like this, and it was like, the thing that stopped us from pulling the trigger on any of these things was like, oh yeah, they're just have people come and join your normal classes. And, not only are you have people paying different price points in your classes, but you're taking away from the people that have been there the longest. And that's one of the things that I think not enough people are thinking about is what is that experience for the veteran? Is it always improving for the veteran, or are they always getting the short end of the stick? Is that where you're kind of going with that? Is there other things you're thinking about?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a great example. I mean that's gotten a lot of attention these last couple of years, and by no means do I think that that's not a phenomenal tactic for a lot of applications. It actually truly is, a great fit for a lot of gyms if they would integrate it better into their overall business system, right? That
Hmm.
is the key. It's that people are treating it as a completely separate thing and not taking into consideration the redirection of your attention and efforts now going all around just aggressive acquisition, and it's all about the new people, and the existing people are fine, they're on the program, they're all good, and people kind of just going for the shortcut, the silver bullet, versus really understanding that this business is about creating lifers. And we should be using tools and tactics like that, I think, a little bit with a little bit more thought around, okay, so how am I going to maybe adjust the tone or the messaging or the experience or the program, and all of the elements for the experience and the business side of things to integrate seamlessly into it. I have nothing against those 6 week challenges. I think that a lot of the people who are out there offering these services and programs are doing brilliant work, and are phenomenal at what they do. My hat is off to them. I just think that the people who are integrating it are looking at it as a silver bullet solution instead of looking at it as, okay, let me see what this is and why this is working so well, and then how I can make this my own a little bit better without sacrificing those things, and looking at it as a holistic system always, rather than just these like kind of cobbled together strategies and then wondering why what goes in the front end doesn't match what comes out on the other end.
Yeah, I think a lot of like the mistake I've seen with gym owners is they're focused on the front end revenue, and it doesn't matter how much you're charging, that revenue is almost never going to be enough to provide any type of long-term solution for you. Because one, you probably have a lot of costs. Some of these, challenge companies are super expensive, and it looks like big numbers you're dealing with, but the profit's really not there. So I remember when we did it, actually we worked with New You Challenge once or twice, and it was great for us. And it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of a tactical thing. But the reason we didn't have to go back and do it again is because it worked for us. And we added consistent members that then added referrals to us, and we didn't have to keep kind of going back to this at that time. But the main thing for us was like, it doesn't matter what happens. If this person doesn't get to the 3 to 6 month member mark, it's all lost. All that work is for nothing, essentially.
100%. Our philosophy is, someone is not really considered a successful acquisition until they've made it to the 6 month mark and are a raving fan. Everything that we do around acquisition, onboarding, integration, everything, all the messaging, everything is about that concept, right? Is about getting them to that 6 month mark and turning them into a raving fan. So I think that, a lot of the people who are using these systems like you, it can be a great complement to what they're trying to accomplish. I think it's really just a matter of, again, making sure that you're not taking your eye off of the longevity ball, and getting distracted with just that acquisition. Because what ends up happening, long story short, is that you may have aggressive growth, but because you're not putting the same amount of attention into integration, making sure the perceived value is on point, that they are like truly buying into the bigger concept and bigger value of your program, then what happens is your overall lifetime client value oftentimes starts to shrink, because
Hmm.
these new people come in and they don't really integrate quite well because they're a different culture. It's a different vibe that they're from where they're starting versus where they are after, a couple months into the program. And what happens is that you start chasing your tail on, well, now I've had all this growth. I made a bunch of extra money. Maybe now I expanded, I hired people, I started paying myself better. And they think that this is just how it's always now going to be. But then that attrition rate oftentimes will start creeping up on those who aren't implementing correctly. And you find yourself in a pretty ugly spot. And it's actually leading to quite a few people either shutting their doors or just burning out, because it's an unrealistic pace to have to keep up with. The attrition rate starts to go through the roof, and your overall lifetime client value and just duration shortens. So you have to now market and acquire even more aggressively to make up for that drop, right? Because you don't want to lose your momentum, so you double down,
Yeah.
and it starts to become this unrealistic chase of just acquisition, when really the trick was lock the back door, make it
Yeah.
so sticky that when they come in, the likelihood of them leaving, it would be ridiculous for them to leave, right? And I think just that little shift for people can make those 6 week programs and whatever other acquisition strategy you've got on the front end. It's not just about the 6 week challenges. Whether whatever low barrier offer or packaging and bundling and you name it, whatever that looks like for you, just make sure that it's not just about getting those vanity numbers on the front end and making some money in the short term, but does this really get you to your goal of having someone around for 2-3 years at the highest average client value possible?